My name is Danielle Atwood. I'm 32 years old. And 3 weeks before my mother-in-law slid a manila envelope across our dining table, I already knew what was inside it. Not the exact result, but I knew she had tried. She had secretly attempted to DNA test my 3-year-old daughter. And she had done it because she wanted my husband to question whether Lily was really his child. What Patricia did not know was that the laboratory had called me. She did not know I had spoken to an attorney. She did not know I had started documenting everything. And most importantly, she did not know that the woman she had spent 7 years treating like someone who needed to prove herself had stopped trying to convince anyone. For 14 days, I said nothing. I went to work. I picked Lily up from daycare. I made dinner. I kissed Mark goodnight. And I watched Patricia continue behaving as though she had done nothing wrong. That was the part that surprised me. She didn't look nervous. She looked confident, which told me this wasn't an impulsive decision. It was a plan, and plans have steps. So I started looking for them. The first thing I did was open the notebook beside my bed. 14 entries. 6 months. Every comment Patricia had made about Lily's hair. Every question about where the red curls came from. Every joke about Lily not looking like an Atwood. Every time Courtney had repeated something Patricia had already said. I put dates beside everything. Then I added the new information. Geneva Labs. Samples submitted under Lily's name. Patricia listed as grandmother.
No parental buserezaschen.
Test cancelled. I stared at those words for almost 10 minutes. Then I wrote one more sentence. Find out what else she did. That sentence changed everything. Because once you stop asking whether someone is capable of doing something, you start looking for evidence that they already did it. The next morning, I called Rachel Nagwan. She answered on the second ring. Danielle? Yes. Did something happen? Something happened before. There was a pause. Then she said, tell me. I explained that I had found the Facebook post Courtney had shared. I explained the Geneva submission. Then I told her about the missing sippy cup. Rachel didn't interrupt. When I finished, she said, the cup bothers me. It bothers me too. Why would she throw away a child's cup? I don't know. Then find out. That was Rachel. She never filled silence with theories. She filled it with questions. She told me to preserve everything. Screenshots, emails, phone records, daycare communications, anything relating to Lily. And then she said something I wasn't expecting. Danielle, don't investigate Patricia like you're trying to prove she's guilty. I asked why. Because you're going to become emotional. And emotional people miss details. She paused. Investigate her like you're trying to prove what actually happened. That distinction mattered. So I changed the way I looked at everything. 3 days later, I called Lily's daycare. I asked for the attendance records from the previous 6 months. Nothing unusual. Then I asked who had signed Lily out. The director hesitated. Why? Because I need a copy. Another pause. Then she said, there was one unusual pickup. My stomach tightened. When? April. The same month Patricia had thrown away Lily's cup. Who picked her up? The director checked the computer. Patricia Atwood. I closed my eyes. Was that authorized?
Yes.
Your husband added her as an emergency contact. I already knew that. Did she leave with Lily? Yes. Was anyone else with her? The director said she would check the visitor log. 10 minutes later, she called back. Her daughter was with her.
Courtney.
I wrote both names down. Patricia. Courtney. I wrote both names down. Patricia.
Courtney.
Then I asked the question that had been sitting in my mind since I first saw that plastic bag. Did they bring anything with them? The director said, I don't know. I thanked her. Then I sat at my kitchen table. Lily was coloring beside me. Red crayon, blue crayon, yellow. She was drawing a house with 3 windows. Mommy. Yeah. Can I make Grandma's house purple? I looked at her. Of course. She smiled and went back to coloring. And for the first time, I realized something uncomfortable. Patricia wasn't just questioning me. She was slowly teaching Lily that something about herself needed explaining. I couldn't allow that. Not to my daughter. Not in my house. Not anywhere. That night Mark came home late. He kissed Lily goodnight. Then he came into the kitchen. You've been quiet. I'm thinking. About my mom? I looked at him. Why would you ask that? He pulled out a chair. Because you've been writing things down. I hadn't realized he'd noticed the notebook. I closed it. Mark, if I asked you whether you believed your mother would do something that could hurt our family, what would you say? He stared at me. I'd say no. Even if the evidence said otherwise?
His face changed.
What evidence? I didn't answer immediately, because this was the moment Rachel had warned me about. If I told him everything too soon, Patricia would know. And if Patricia knew, she could destroy whatever evidence remained. So I said the only thing I could. Your mother has been questioning Lily's paternity. Mark's expression went completely still.
What?
I didn't say I believe her. You think Lily isn't mine?
No.
Then why are we talking about this? Because your mother has been talking about it. He stood up. Danielle, my mother loves Lily. I know. She would never. She already tried. The room went silent. I told him about the laboratory, about the sample, about Patricia's name, about the cancellation. Mark sat down slowly. He didn't speak for almost 30 seconds. Then he asked, why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted to know how far it went. He looked hurt. You didn't trust me. I trusted you. Then why? I looked toward the hallway where Lily's bedroom door was closed. Because I didn't trust what would happen after you called your mother. That hurt him. I could see it. But I didn't apologize. Because it was true. He rubbed his face. My God. Then he whispered. She actually tested our daughter.
No.
I corrected him. She tried. And that distinction became important. Because the test itself wasn't the only thing Patricia had done. It was what she had been preparing for. The next morning Rachel called me. Danielle. Her voice sounded different. What? I found something. I sat down. What? Your mother-in-law contacted another service. My stomach dropped. When? 2 months ago. Which service? Rachel told me. It wasn't Geneva. It was an ancestry company. Consumer testing. Different rules. Different process. And Rachel had found something else. Someone uploaded a family tree using Lily's name. I didn't breathe.
Who?
That's the problem. Rachel said the account was anonymous, but the email attached to it was partially visible. Not Patricia's. Not Courtney's. Someone else. An account using the initials WA. Warren Atwood. Mark's father. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then Rachel said, Danielle, I think this is bigger than your mother-in-law. I looked at the notebook on my table. The 14 entries. The canceled test. The daycare pickup. The missing cup. And now Warren. I finally understood. Patricia hadn't been acting alone. She had been collecting information. And someone had been helping her. I closed the notebook. Then let's find out why. The first thing Rachel told me to do was nothing.
No confrontación. No accusaciones.
No angry phone calls. Let them believe you don't know, she said. So I did. That Sunday, Patricia invited us for lunch. I almost laughed when I saw the text. Would love to have my family together. My family. The phrase meant something different to me now. I showed Mark the message.
He looked at me.
Do you want to go?
No.
Then we don't. I shook my head. We go. He frowned.
Why?
Because I want to see what happens when everyone thinks I still don't know. We arrived at 12:03. Patricia opened the door. She hugged Lily first. Then Mark. Then me. Her arms barely touched my shoulders.
Danielle.
Patricia. She smiled. Nothing had changed. That was almost impressive. Lunch was normal. Too normal. Roast chicken.
Salad. Bread.
Courtney sat beside her mother. Warren sat at the end of the table. And Lily played with a wooden puzzle on the floor. For 20 minutes, nobody mentioned DNA. Nobody mentioned hair. Nobody mentioned genetics. Then Patricia looked at Lily. She's getting so big. I smiled. She is. Patricia reached toward one of Lily's curls. I moved Lily gently closer to me. Patricia's hand stopped. A tiny moment. But everyone saw it. Courtney looked at me. Warren looked at Mark. Mark looked at his plate. Then Patricia smiled. I was only going to fix her hair. I know. Silence. Then Warren cleared his throat. So, Danielle, how is work? Good. Still at the hospital? Yes. Busy. Very. He nodded. Then he said, You work around a lot of families. I looked at him.
Ido.
Must make you think about genetics sometimes. Mark put his fork down. Patricia's eyes moved toward Warren. Courtney stopped chewing. And suddenly I knew. They had rehearsed this. I smiled. Sometimes. Warren nodded. Interesting. I waited. He didn't continue. Neither did I. After lunch, Patricia asked Lily to help her in the kitchen. I said no. Not sharply. Just calmly. She's tired. Patricia looked at me. She can rest here. We're leaving. Her smile disappeared for half a second. Then it returned. Of course. On the drive home, Mark didn't speak. Finally, he said, They knew. I think so. My dad, too. Yes. He gripped the steering wheel. What are they trying to prove? I looked out the window. I don't know yet. Rachel did. At least partially. She called me the next afternoon. Danielle, I traced the email. And it connects to Warren's business account. I closed my eyes. What does that mean? It means someone in that family created the account. Can you prove it? Not yet. Then keep going. 2 days later, Rachel sent me a screenshot. It was a family tree. Names, dates, birthplaces, and one blank space. Lily Atwood. Underneath her name was a question mark. Next to it, Father. I stared at the screen. Then I saw something else. A note. Mother's family claims red hair. I felt something inside me go cold. They weren't just wondering. They were building a narrative. Rachel called again. I need you to check something. What? Your wedding records. I didn't understand. Why? Your marriage license. The witness information. I found the folder. Our marriage license. Insurance paperwork. Tax documents. Everything. Then I saw it. A copy of the hospital birth certificate from Lily's delivery. Nothing unusual. Until Rachel asked, Look at the witness signature. I did. The witness was Patricia. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because suddenly the entire thing became clear. Patricia had been obsessed with Lily's appearance since birth. She had been present at the hospital. She knew the birth records. She knew exactly who had been in the delivery room. And she had spent 3 years looking for something that would confirm what she wanted to believe. Then Rachel said, There's one more thing. What? Your mother-in-law contacted the hospital. My stomach dropped. When? 3 months ago. What did she ask? Rachel had obtained the information through a lawful records request connected to the dispute. Patricia had asked whether Lily's birth records contained any information about paternity. The hospital refused to release anything. Then Patricia asked a second question. Who was listed as the father? The answer was Mark. Exactly as it should have been. But Patricia didn't stop there. She asked whether another man had been present during the delivery. The hospital refused again. Rachel said, Danielle, this is no longer a family disagreement. I know. This is an organized attempt to create doubt around your daughter.
He said quietly.
Then I asked, Why? Rachel didn't answer immediately. Finally, she said, Money. That one word explained more than anything else. Warren was nearing retirement. Patricia controlled the family trust. Mark was the primary beneficiary. If Mark's marriage failed, Patricia believed he would come back under her control. And if Lily wasn't Mark's biological child, Patricia could use that doubt to pressure him into changing his estate plans. But there was something they didn't know. Mark had already changed his will. 6 months earlier, he had made Lily his primary beneficiary. Not because of genetics. Because she was his daughter. He had also named me trustee. Patricia didn't know. And suddenly I understood why she had been so desperate. She wasn't trying to protect the Atwood name. She was trying to control what came after it. That night Mark came home. I put the documents on the table. He read them, one by one. When he finished, he looked at me. I believe you. I nodded. I know.
No.
He shook his head. You don't. He looked toward Lily's room. I should have protected you. I didn't answer. I kept thinking my mother would stop. I know. I kept telling you she didn't mean it. I know. He swallowed. And I was wrong. That was the first time Mark had ever said it. Not about his mother. About himself. Then he reached into his jacket. I need to show you something. He put a folded document on the table. Our updated estate plan. Lily is my daughter, he said. Nothing they say changes that. Then he looked at me. And I'm done letting my family make you prove it. I took his hand. For the first time in months, I felt something other than fear. I felt prepared. Then my phone rang. Rachel. I answered. Danielle, you need to sit down. I did. What happened? Patricia filed something. What? A petition requesting emergency family court intervention regarding Lily. My heart stopped. On what grounds? Rachel was quiet. Then, she's alleging that Mark may not be Lily's biological father. I looked across the kitchen at my husband. He had heard every word. And this time, he didn't look afraid. He looked angry. Good, he said. I stared at him. Good. He nodded. Now we get everything on the record. The court hearing was scheduled for the following Thursday. But Patricia didn't wait. She wanted the family to hear her version first. So she invited everyone to dinner. Again. This time, we went. Rachel told me not to argue. Let the evidence speak. So I brought a folder. Not because I planned to use it. Because I knew I wouldn't need to. Patricia started dinner with a prayer. Then she looked at Mark. I only want what's best for you. Mark said nothing. She looked at me. And for Lily. I stayed silent. Courtney was sitting beside her. Warren had his hands folded on the table. Aunt Margot was there too. Everyone who had watched this story develop from the edges was present. Patricia reached into her purse and placed a manila envelope on the table, the same kind she would later use to present the DNA results. But this time, she hadn't opened it. She looked at Mark. I think you deserve to know the truth. Mark stared at the envelope. Then he looked at me. I nodded. Open it.
He did.
Inside was a DNA report. Not from Geneva. From the Consumer Service. The report stated that Mark could not be excluded as Lily's biological father. Patricia's face changed. Just slightly. Mark read it again. Then again. Mom. She swallowed. I had to know. You already knew. She looked at me. You canceled the first test. I didn't answer. She looked at Mark. She stopped it. Mark's voice was quiet. Because you didn't have permission. Patricia's eyes hardened. I am her grandmother. That doesn't give you the right. She looked toward Warren. He didn't move. Then Courtney spoke. But there was another test. The room went silent. I looked at her. What? Courtney's face went pale. Patricia turned toward her. Stop. But it was too late. Courtney had already said it. There was another test. Mark stood. Another test? Courtney looked at her mother. Patricia whispered. Sit down. But Courtney didn't. She started crying. I didn't know what Mom was going to do. Patricia stood. That's enough.
No.
Courtney shook her head. It's not. Then she looked at Mark. Mom asked me to send Lily's hair to a lab. I felt Lily's hand inside mine. Mark's face went white.
How?
Courtney wiped her eyes. The sippy cup. Everything stopped. The missing cup. The plastic bag. The envelope. All of it finally had a picture. Patricia had taken Lily's used sippy cup. Courtney had collected hair from it. And they had submitted it to a consumer DNA service. Rachel had been right. This wasn't suspicion. It was a campaign. Mark looked at his mother. Did you do this? Patricia didn't answer. He asked again. Did you do this? Finally, she said, I was protecting you.
No.
His voice was different now. You were controlling me. Patricia started crying. I saw the hair. You saw red hair. She doesn't look like us. She's my daughter. But what if? What if nothing? Mark stepped closer. You spent 3 years making my wife feel like she was guilty for giving our daughter red hair. Patricia shook her head. I never said. You didn't have to. He pointed at Courtney. She wrote it down.
Then he looked at me.
I wrote it down too. I didn't know what he meant. He reached into his jacket. He pulled out his phone. I recorded the conversation. Patricia froze. The recording began. Her voice.
Clear.
Mark needs to understand that if Lily isn't biologically his, Danielle can't control everything. Then Warren's voice. Once the question exists, that's enough. The room went completely silent. I looked at Warren. He closed his eyes. Patricia whispered, You recorded us? Mark said,
No.
He looked at me. Danielle did. I shook my head. I didn't. He smiled sadly. I knew they'd try again. He had recorded the conversation himself, legally, in a context where he was a participant. Rachel had already reviewed it, and that was when Patricia finally understood. The story she had been building for 3 years was no longer hers. It belonged to the evidence. The court hearing came 2 days later. Patricia's petition was dismissed. Not because the judge decided whether Lily looked like an Atwood, because appearance was irrelevant, because the legal parents were established, because the DNA report she had secretly obtained actually supported Mark's paternity, and because the court was presented with evidence showing Patricia had attempted unauthorized testing of a minor. The judge ordered that no further genetic testing or medical information concerning Lily could be obtained without parental authorization. Patricia lost access to the daycare. She lost unsupervised visitation. And most importantly, she lost the ability to make herself the center of our family. 3 weeks later, Mark changed the locks on our house. Not because I asked him, because he wanted to. He also removed Patricia from every emergency contact list. Then he changed one more thing.
His estate plan.
Lily remained his daughter. I remained his wife. And Patricia received exactly what she had been so afraid of losing. Nothing. Months passed. Lily's hair grew longer. The curls became brighter. One afternoon, she stood in front of the bathroom mirror, wearing a purple dress. Mommy. Yeah. Do you like my hair? I smiled. I love your hair. She touched one curl. Grandma says it's strange. I knelt beside her. Your hair isn't strange. What is it? I thought about Patricia, the notebook, the DNA tests, the envelope, the dinner, and everything that had happened because one woman couldn't accept that a child didn't belong to her version of the family. It's yours. Lily smiled. Okay. Then she ran downstairs. That was it. No dramatic speech.
No revenge.
No victory music. Just a 3-year-old girl who finally stopped wondering whether something about herself needed permission. 6 months later, Mark and I drove past his parent house. The lights were on. We didn't stop. He reached across the center console and took my hand. I'm sorry. I looked at him. For what? For taking so long to see it. I squeezed his hand. You see it now. He nodded. And that was enough. I used to think family was the people who shared your blood. Now I know better. Family is the person who believes you when someone else is trying to make you doubt yourself. Family is the person who protects your child when the room gets quiet. And sometimes, family is the person who finally chooses you after spending years choosing everyone else. Patricia wanted a DNA test to answer one question. Was Lily really an Atwood? The answer was yes. But that wasn't the answer that changed our family. The answer that changed everything was much simpler. Lily didn't need a blood test to belong. She already did. And Patricia never got to take that away from her. That was the last time we discussed her DNA. Because after that night, we started talking about something much more important. Her future.